So good morning everyone, and I'm again very grateful for the organizer of this conference who have invited me. I have the tough privilege to be the first non-Asian institute, non-Asian based, to present. I will briefly, since this session is very much about framing new ideas about Asian studies, I would like to do it while describing what my institute, the International Institute for Asian Studies, is doing in trying to expand the reach of knowledge about Asia. Just to say that IAS is 20 years old now as an institute, and it is very much in line with the presentations of the two previous keynote speakers in terms of what I would call academic activism. And it is definitely a post-Cold War and also a post-colonial institute in its setup. So actually its institutional setup is quite interesting in itself, and I think it's worth mentioning, because from the beginning it was created not to be a pure research institute, but to be a kind of catalyst for new research, but also new research-led activities, including teaching, including what we call public services. And that means also building, establishing new networks. And IS, I think, has been quite successful in shaping a number of global networks. And I would say it's a very, in this sense, IS is a very extravagant institute, maybe in line with also the Dutch tradition. As a research or teaching incubator, IS doesn't host permanent positions of researchers. We have rotating fellowships, and we usually try to shape or set up new projects, new initiatives that we then hope to share with mostly with universities. And I would like also to mention that IS is now very much framed in relation to what is called now the new community of scholars called Leiden Global, based in Leiden, in the city of Leiden. Very much, of course, around Leiden University, but not just quite limited to Leiden University. We are together with the Institute of African Studies and many other institutions, ethnology, museum, etc. So we have this kind of global outlook. We are very, the good thing with our institute setup is that we can organize events, we can do things everywhere. We are not bound to our geographic origin, but of course we are constantly interacting with our colleagues in the Leiden context and Leiden University, especially with itself its deep roots in the humanities and cultural, linguistic based knowledge tradition that we know. As a global networker, IS has been, I think, instrumental in organizing or setting up first a pan-European network, which at a time when there was no such a thing, and now we take in Europe, at least for granted, a lot of programs funded by the European Union for Asian studies, but originally a number of institutions, including our colleague from GIGA from Hamburg, who is here, we very much help to promote Asian studies at the EU in terms of EU education policy. Briefly also, IS hosts the International Convention of Asian Scholars Secretariat, which is the largest network of Asian studies so far, and which has every 2 years its big convention, most of the time in Asia. And I think in 2005, I think if I remember, it was hosted, 2007, sorry. It was in Daejeon, in Korea. Likewise, our newsletter, maybe many of you know, it's kind of a unique species, I would say. It's the, I think, periodical on Asian studies, and it has done, I think, a good job into linking scholars all across the board, a about Asia and on Asian studies. And it has a turnout of about almost 30,000 subscriptions. It's all free, so you can receive it on paper or on electronic format. So just to say that, and finally, since we tended to cover so many areas, we decided a few years ago to reframe a bit our activities under some themes that will reach out beyond disciplinary boundaries. And we thought of three broad ideas or topics. One has to do with Asian heritage or heritages and the politics of culture and identity. So another theme which has to do with Asian cities. And the third one, Asian connectivities within Asia or Asia with the world. And these three, under the three umbrella theme, thematic umbrellas, we have developed a lot of activities, projects with earmarked fellowships, and in particular we have helped set up new networks and new research content-based activities. In terms of urban, I can say that we've helped a grant from the EU, a big network called Urban Knowledge Network Asia, UKNA, which today has over 130 researchers from 17 institutions, mostly from China and India, Greater China as well, and Europe. But we of course want to include more partners from other parts of Asia. We've been also very much involved in helping a number of universities working together into framing a trans-regional educational and research program on heritage and critical heritage studies. And currently we are working here with our colleagues from Yonsei University on this topic. What should I say also briefly? We reach out also beyond the academic boundaries in terms of the people we deal with, counterparts. We very much interact with artists, with local community organizations, municipalities, as well as professionals. And a lot of activities that I don't have time to explain here engage these people. We do, for instance, Instiute roundtables in a given area, like a city, to work on the revitalization of an area. In many ways, we want to bring back the humanities, social science, or the humanistic sciences onto the fore of public discourse and public discussion, and not for us to remain confined in our academic setup. Briefly, so we try to link theoretical discussion with applied knowledge, leading to transversal subjects, as I mentioned. For instance, last December we had a conference on pre-modern urbanism in Asia. Basically, Asian cities before Western urbanism or urbanistic concepts and norms. So it was interesting also for contemporary urban policymakers to know how cities were framed and shaped in the past. So we hope that this new approach can help to frame Asian studies differently beyond old constructions, as they were already described this morning, the nation-state norm, a lot of the legacies of Eurocentric or Western-centric intellectual are still very much with us. And try to question, and this has led to final, okay, that's it. We recently received a grant from the Mellon Foundation to go even deeper into identifying some topics that would really expand and open the boundaries of Asian studies, including alternative narratives of history, etc. But finally, also I would like to mention, we also think it is important that the stream of knowledge about Asia, which has been largely shaped, as we heard earlier, originally from a Western institutional context, could also include less heard voices within Asia. So Southeast Asia definitely is very important, I think. Asia is not just China or India, as often people have to stress. And finally, beyond Asia and the Western world. So in this case, we are helping set up networks in Africa and in Latin America among people who also share the same interest on Asia. And as a final thing, I would just invite you in January 15, 17, 19, 20, to 2015 to Accra in Ghana for the first Pan-African conference on Asian studies. Thank you very much.